You cannot give the best talk of your life if you don't know your audience truly. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Erica the Dev, and this is part of my Crushing Your Technical Talk series because I've had so many different engineers and other people in the tech space come up and ask me, how did you become a Cisco Live Distinguished Speaker at every conference you presented at for Cisco Live, even though it was your first tech conference ever speaking? If you missed my overview with my top tips for crushing that technical presentation, I highly recommend you start there. This is deep diving into the first tip in that presentation, which is to know your audience. And I'm sorry I'm in Vegas dealing with allergies and everything being dry, so apologies in advance. So here's the first truthism that you and I both need to be in agreement about before we can really continue this video, and that is that we don't always know our audience as well as we think we do. You know, I'm a developer by training. That does not mean that I understand every developer at every developer conference that I might want to talk at, right? You know, while it's been easier for me to talk at Cisco Live because I'd worked at Cisco for a while, I had been part of these Cisco communities, etc., I've definitely made the mistake of, you know, really wanting to talk about a certain topic and thinking that I found the conference for it, and not really understanding that it wasn't quite the right audience for that session. Whether the session didn't really land with the audience, that maybe it wasn't something they super cared about, or maybe it was completely just not accepted to the conference. I'm just getting more and more comfy here. And this is step one in crushing your technical presentation, because you could have the best slides, a super interesting topic, practiced all day long, right? But if it's not something your audience actually needs or cares about, you are not going to get rated highly in ratings or whatever it is that you're looking to achieve here if it's a conference that offers awards like Cisco Live. And this is a concept that we really use in communication, period. I don't know what the communication professional term for it is, but we communicate to people in a way that we know they are going to receive it effectively, is basically the best way I can explain it. So it doesn't matter if you're writing an essay, if you're writing an email, if you're posting to social media, or in this case, if you're giving a presentation at a conference, even if it's a technical one, you have to understand your audience and how to talk to them and what they care about. Otherwise, they're not going to care about you and what you have to say. So here are some of the questions that you want to try to answer in order to know your audience, right? It can go beyond this. It can get much more detailed. And I personally think that the more detailed you can get, the more likely you are to be successful. You're just being smart at understanding who you're talking to, right? But at a very minimum, you know, demographically, what do these people look like who attend this conference? Are they an older or younger generation? Do they hail from a certain region of the country? Or maybe they, you know, in my case, maybe they're developers, but they primarily work for startups. Just getting demographic information gives you an idea up front of maybe how to best communicate with these people and what it is that they may or may not care about or be struggling with. The second question that you want to answer is, what do these people's day-to-day life look like? And again, this might be something that you feel like you have on lock if you are in the same profession. I highly encourage you to confirm that that is the case, because things can be very different in different verticals or industries for various reasons, right? Developer careers look different in government than they do at non-big tech companies, than they do at big tech, than they do at startups, right? It's all different. And, you know, it's different between the open source community and the enterprise community. So have a really solid understanding of what their day-to-day life looks like. And then the next two things you want to know are, what are their greatest struggles or pain points? Again, do not assume this. Please do not assume this. Make sure you do your due diligence to confirm this, and I'm going to tell you how in a minute. But figure out what their pain points are. Also, figure out what their interests are. And I'm going to do a caveat here, right? Because it doesn't have to be interest as in, oh, there's this new technology and I want to dive right into it. But it could also be something that is highly, highly relevant to this industry that you think that you can make a case for, or you can connect the dots in a way that have not been connected before, which is something that I like to do. And how do you connect the dots for these people? By knowing them and caring about them. Final thing that you want to learn about your audience is the style of content or conversation that they're looking to have. Different job titles are going to probably want things more or less formal, more or less technical. I know a lot of technical folks like really hands-on situations and labs and things like that. And the tone for different conferences is different, right? There are some conferences that are, branded as more fun or humorous or less serious, and it kind of attracts people who are expecting those kind of talks, or at least that kind of style of talk. All right, so we have our list of questions, things that we are trying to answer. And this is not a scientific process. This is just a process that is definitely going to get you much closer to those answers than not doing these steps would do. And there's things that I recommend. But here are my top recommendations for answering those questions. This first one is kind of surface level, and you're really only going to get so much information out of it. But if you don't start here, it's unlikely that you're going to do the effort to do all the other stuff. So just, pick the low-hanging fruit by looking at past sessions. Now, the past sessions will probably give you a little bit of a hint about what that audience cares about or is struggling with. That's not always the case, and I won't get into that, but it gives you an idea of the kinds of things that are being discussed by people who attend this conference and theoretically attended willingly. It could also potentially clarify certain demographic information. For instance, if you see a lot of sessions in a certain industry or whatever, or I don't know. The biggest thing that this signals to me is tone of the conference, style of content that this audience is expecting. Again, whether it's more laid back, humorous, hey, we're going to be in t-shirts, or if it's more button up, execs might be there. I don't know, you get the picture. Now here is the free or typically free way to get more insight. And I actually think that this is probably the most useful or insightful thing you can do to better know your audience. And I'm gonna give you two different options here. You can do one or both of them. Both is probably preferred, but some of us have limited time, right? And essentially you wanna get down at the community level and interact with these people as community members. So I actually have a really good friend who is really big into CNCF, or the Cloud Native Foundation. He is really active in their meetings and the projects they work on and communicating with that community. And he's also a big fan of attending an associated conference called KubeCon. Well, this year he has been accepted to KubeCon, and I can't help but, again, notice the number of things that he did to connect with that community, to understand that community, and to truly be a part of it before putting forth a session topic. And I have no idea if he had submitted before or anything, but these things don't happen by accident is what I'm trying to tell you. The benefits of doing that, or potentially in his case, are anything from people know who you are, and so they are more likely to accept a talk from you, to know your expertise, to want to hear from you. It can be you get an in-depth understanding of the people who run the conference or who accept the sessions and exactly what it is that they are looking for. You have in-depth conversations with, or at least are privy to conversations with, these community members. And again, these are priceless. These are invaluable. These are the things that everybody in business should be listening to have a successful business, to run successful communities, to make the most money possible. And they don't, for whatever reason. It's really stupid. And same thing when you're giving a talk, right? You're not running a business or trying to make money per se, but you need to know what they're talking about and what they think and how to appeal to them. Additionally, if you get accepted into the conference, having this community of professionals who know you, maybe respect you, have worked with you before, is going to make it more likely that they attend your session, that they're excited to be there, which also inadvertently is going to raise the perception of your session or your scores, whatever that conference might be doing. Now, I'll tell you the alternative or potential combo option for this, and this is the one that I have done. And that's because I don't know why I did it this way. I think that initially the conferences I was trying to get into, I felt like I didn't have a good meetup group to somehow join physically or virtually to understand people. I also had time limitations. And so one of the things that I did was essentially stalk people on social media. We do it all the time. We might as well do it to benefit our professional lives. And when I say stalk, right, half the time these would be people on Twitter who I didn't even know who they were in real life, right? But the point was, again, to start following conversations of interest with them. Start seeing what it is they're talking about, what the sentiment is of what they're talking about, what issues they're running into. And ideally, if you want to have people be excited about you talking at a conference and be excited to attend your session, to receive it well, you also have conversations with them. You're not just going to lurk. So that is 100% what I did. Is I really tried to support these community members. I tried to take a vested interest in things that they were working on, the issues that they had. I obviously took note, whether it was in my head or on paper, of the things that they were talking about and cared about. And I think that in my case, right, because my presentations were at Cisco Live, which is primarily a networking conference for network engineers and IT professionals. I'm a developer, right? I could certainly be the odd person out. I could certainly be viewed as not having anything relevant to say or not understanding them. And I'm sure that there are things I did not understand and people who did feel that way about me. But at the end of the day, I was able to form a bridge. I was able to form a bridge of understanding. And even if I didn't understand everything perfectly, I proved that I knew enough about these people and their day-to-day lives and the effort I was putting in to understand them, that any perceived gap, first of all, was small, and second of all, was overlooked. They were willing to work with me. Of course, I'm sure there's other things you can do to better get to know your audience and the people who will attend a conference than what I'm listing here. If you have more things that you do or that you want to know, hey, would this be effective? Put those down in the comments and let's discuss. But yeah, those are a few great ways, and hopefully that kind of gets your brain jogging of how you can start getting in there and understanding these people. Yeah, it takes work. That's a reoccurring theme you're going to see in this series about crushing your technical presentation, is that, we think that the hard part is the technical part, and the technical part is indeed hard, but the communication piece is just as hard and just as important. So sorry, that might be bad news to some of you, but it is what it is. And so with the same sort of care and methodology, scientific methodology that you would apply to whatever technical topic you're doing, whatever workshop you're putting together, whatever lab you built, I need you to approach communication with this presentation with the same level of surgical, whatever you call it. I need you to care and apply a methodology, and to know it's going to take practice, and to know that it's not going to be easy, and to know that it's going to take time. So let me know if you enjoyed this video. Let me know what else you want to know about knowing your audience, and stay tuned for the next video in the series, which is all about choosing a topic for your conference, whatever that conference may be. Take care. Bye.